G'day everybody, thanks for stopping by. Welcome to today's video. I'm getting this intro out of the way because something's just turned up. I want to get stuck in and have a look. This is the new Jackery 1000 Pro and the solar panel. Now I'm really keen to get into the solar panel. Look, I'm keen to get into both, but I'm really keen to get into the solar panel because I want to know which one they sent me. Now they've got a number of different solar panels that fall under the Solar Saga banner. There's an 80 watt, 100 watt. I think there may be ones higher than, I'm pretty sure there's a 200 as well. Now some of those are bifacial. Now I'm not sure which one they've sent me, and I'm really hoping that it's going to be one of the bifacial ones, but I'm not sure. So we've got to jump in, we've got to have a look, and we've got to open it up. So as much as I generally don't like doing unboxings, I'm currently out here unboxing the microwave slash air fryer, and this is turned up. And like I said, I'm just really keen to crack this box and have a look. Now, if you haven't visited my channel before and you're just here for the Jackery, I'm not going to ask you for a subscription. I'm not going to ask you to tick the bell. I don't care about that. I just appreciate the fact that you're here and you're watching the video. Now, what you need to know is that this has been sent out to me for the purpose of review for free. Jackery got in touch with me and said, you know, are you interested in having a look? As I say in my previous videos, when I get offered things for free to do a review on, I'm not stupid, albeit that I might look like it sometimes, like trying to get the box open. So, you know what, let's take it out of this second box. So I guess first part of the review is it's double boxed. So when they reached out and said, you know, are you interested? I said, yep, absolutely. And then Jackery then promptly said, well, you know, what would you do in a video if we sent you one? So you have this whole interaction with them. Now, one of the things that they like us to say when you get a product from them for free is that obviously I've received the product for free for review, and that makes me a Jackery partner. Whether that relationship just extends to them sending me out one solar generator and one solar panel this one time, never hear from them again, I don't know. Or whether you may see an ongoing relationship with Jackery in that they might want to keep sending me future products to do reviews on. I suppose it depends on how well this video does at the end of the day. What do we got in the box? We've got a manual, which I'll be quite interested to have a look at because I believe Jackery is a US based. Oh, and it nice. Okay, so just to give you a look, it's got a model number JE1000B. I'm not sure what the B stands for, but it is showing me up in the corner. It is showing Australia. So an Australian model. Our AC output is 230 at 50 hertz, testing at 4.35 amps, gives us our 1000 watt rating and a 2000 peak surge. In the box in this nice little pouch, which is nice because I noticed with some of the other brands I've got a whole bunch of different cables and stuff, and I can't remember which one goes where, etc. It's nice that these are orange. Everybody's been pretty impressed with these being orange, and I'm no different, so I'm really happy with those. They're going to be easy to find, easy to grab. I'll know which ones are for me Jackery because Jackery stuff is orange. So just the two cables. So we've got the 240 volt plug, which is your typical kettle slash PC power supply cable. And we've got a 12 volt cigarette lighter socket plug, so you can charge this from the car. You're only going to get about 100 watts out of that. I'm going to pick myself up another one of those. I'm going to pick up another one of those Siggy socket plugs, cables, if you will, because what I want to do is I've got Anderson plugs all over the back of the Pajero. I've got an Anderson plug to 2 cigarette lighter socket adapter, which means that I'll be able to plug 2 of those in and then charge this bad boy up at 200 watts from the car rather than the standard 100 watts. So stick around for that. One thing everybody seems to be banging on about is the fact that it's now got a handle on the back. Not having had a Jackery before, I don't know whether that's a vast improvement of what they've had in the past. That being said, some of the previous units that I've reviewed, some have a molded handle, and I certainly know when I go to stack things up on top of it, chuck your phone on it, whatever the case may be, when we're camping and we're out, you know, our 4-wheel drives, our caravans, whatever the case may be, we know that everything is a little bit of a compromise. One of the biggest compromises is space and the amount of area you've got to work with. And certainly in caravans and 4-wheel drives, flat space is of an absolute premium. Certainly when you're cooking and all that sort of stuff. Not that you're going to be chopping up vegetables or anything on top of this, albeit that you probably could. you just need flat space to be able to put things on. Being able to put something on top of this because of this handle means that I don't need to put something down on my table on the back of the four-wheel drive. It means I don't need to put something on the bed. You know what I mean? It just means that I've got that extra flat space wherever I need it. So by taking that flat space but giving me that flat space above, that's not a bad thing. So handle, rubberized grip, case is solid, not particularly heavy. I think this goes for around about 12 kilos, I think. Okay, that's not too bad a guess. 11.5 kilos. So it's 1,002 watt hours with a 1,000 watt inverter. So that's about 4 times the size capacity wise of the units that I've previously reviewed on the channel. Now it's about this size that I reckon that these things start to become useful. Don't get me wrong, those little ones that I've got, 256, 248 odd watt hours, are handy for small things, certainly handy for soldering irons and stuff like that. This 1,000 watt hour type size is where the interest for me really begins for my use case scenario. So using this in the back of a car, powering fridges, running a whole bunch of different stuff. So certainly the 1,000 watt inverter that's in this from the 240 volt side or the AC side is certainly a lot bigger than the 300 watters that we've seen in the previous units on the channel. A couple of things I want to do with this. I've got a little 800 watt induction cooker that I want to run, and I want to see whether I can turn that into a portable unit. I don't currently have a diesel heater because we gave that away to Tim, so that would have been nice to be able to test that, see whether this can handle that. A bunch of different things that I want to run through this just to see how it handles it, and we'll do the standard tests and whatever. You know, if you're looking for capacity tests and all that sort of stuff, as everybody does, I recommend you to go to Hobotech, go and have a look at his videos. He does all the technical sides, load tests, capacity tests, all that sort of stuff. And I believe this has come out with shining colors. Okay, this is interesting. I'm just pushing some buttons. I'm just pushing some buttons on the front and nothing's coming on. So maybe it's a press and hold affair, I'm guessing. What we're seeing here is basically zero activity on the front. So at this stage, I don't know why it wasn't taking a charge from the car. I don't know what wasn't taking a charge from the solar panel, but it is now working. Here's the action. This is what we were waiting for. 459, 543, 628. If this thing hits that 800 watts claimed, I'm gonna be so impressed. 705, 754. Come on, baby, you can do it. If it's going to hit 800, now's the time to do it while it's 0% battery life. So 750. Here's our fan port on the side, and you can barely hear it going. This thing's charging at 750 watts. It's going to take less than 2 hours to charge from AC, from zero, like the 0%, 1.7 hours. So what's that? An hour and 42 minutes. 768. Okay, so it looks like 750 is probably going to be about the best we're going to get out of it. It might go up once it's into like a bulk charge. I mean, it has to be bulking now, but so for the size of this unit, that's pretty bloody impressive. I'm still surprised that it shipped it. I don't know, something's gone wrong there, I reckon. I can't imagine them shipping them out at 0%. I reckon this is a 100 amp hour battery and you only get your 1,002 watt hours out of it because they're taking that little bit off the top and bottom, I think, to give you longevity of the battery. It is lipo chemistry, obviously, so I think it's something like 1,000 cycles down to 80%. But look, let's be realistic. Who's going to have one of these things sitting around for 10 years before they go out and buy a new one? I'm not. I like new stuff, and if you're on this channel, you like new stuff, so the chances are you're probably not going to do it either. So 10 years, more than enough. It's charging at 755 watts off the inverter in the back of the Pajero. So what I want to do is also plug this in to the car and just see whether we can get better than that 750 watts. I did see 780 briefly when I plugged it in. What I believe Jackery does in this instance is prioritizes the renewable resources or that sort of power supply rather than AC. So if you've got AC, what it's going to look to do, or you plugged into your car. So what it's assuming from being plugged into your car is that your car's running, it's taking alternator power, right? So that's not drawing off the AC circuit. If you've got solar coming in, it's drawing off the solar. Then what it will do is to get close to that 800 watts of charging is it's going to supplement that with AC. So say it charged at an even 800 watts and you were getting 100 watts out of your solar panel, it would take that 100 watts from your solar panel and then give you 700 watts of AC. Just plugging in the 12 volt Siggy socket and 94 watts out of that now. It's still going to take us 10 hours to charge it, so it's a mighty long drive. Now it's interesting, every time you plug in, okay, so 106, so it is taking a charge from the Siggy socket and the solar as well. So if you're at camp, for example, and you've got means of charging off the Siggy socket for your 100 odd watts and stick out your solar panel, you can certainly get it charged a little bit quicker. Every time you plug in a power source or change the power source, plug something different in, turn on your AC, it drops down. Like it's checking out what's going on, what the inputs are coming in, you know, who's giving it what, and it's making a decision on which way to go. It's a really smart little unit. With some of the other units, you've got a total hour output based on what function you're currently performing. So if you were overall charging the unit, say you were drawing 100 watts, but you were putting in 200 watts. So in that instance, you'd have a positive charge going in the battery of 100 watts. It would tell you how long that 100 watts is going to take to charge the battery to full capacity. If you were taking out 200 and only putting in 100, it would still show you using that same hour reading, but you'd then understand that because you're taking out 100 watts, that's how long it would take to discharge the battery. In this instance, what we've got is we've got an input side which shows you the amount of watts coming in, but then under that it shows you how many hours to full charge. And then on the right hand side you've got output, how many watts are being taken out, and then how many hours it would at the current rate to be discharged. So that's really interesting. And then obviously you've got your standard battery capacity percentage in the middle. Okay, so it's the 100 watt panel. I'm really hoping for the bifacial panel. The panels that allow some limit of light to go through, I believe, and then you use the case to reflect the light back at the back of the panel, and that it can increase your output of the panel. So I'm interested. I'm hoping it's one of those. I don't think it's going to be. Nice. Oh, okay. So this is, have a go at this. This is how it's transported. So this is bubble wrap. So it was in the box itself. This is bubble wrap. This is bubble wrap, and it was transported in the box itself. And if you have a look at it, it's got the Jackery name on the front. We talk about the little touches that show you the quality of a product. This is certainly one of them. Keep it in mind that each of these things, like having, you know, this here, having a little pouch, all that stuff, it doesn't come for free. So you pay for that. I don't want to say disappointingly, because I got this for free, but this is not the bifacial panel that I was hoping for. But I'm not complaining at all. It's just I haven't seen one, and I was just curious to get my hands on and check it out. So we'll have a closer look at the solar panel. But in the back, you've got the output cable. You've got some USB ports as well. And again, we'll look at those and test those later on. But right now, I just want to hook this up. All right, decent length cable. I am still going to purchase myself an extension lead for this. And once I find one, I'll give you some information about that later on. So I quite like these. These are a bit more of a cross between the old aluminium frame solar panels and the new, I guess, blanket type solar panels. And look, couldn't be any easier to set up than that. Since this is my first interaction with Jackery gear, I want to talk to you about like first impressions, because as I've mentioned in other videos, the out of the box experience sometimes is the most honest, because you get that first impression and you're like, you know, oh, this is what it feels like, this is what it looks like, this is what it smells like. Anyway, you get the point. So my first interaction with Jackery solar panels are, look, you know, well made, they look really good, the materials feel really good. But then I went to pack it up and I just went like this, because they got the magnets in them, and then those legs, when you lift it up, those legs just fold down automatically. There's Velcro there to hold them. The magnet holds the panel together. So literally all I need to do is just grab this cable and just, you know, loop it up. as such. Stick that back in there as neat or as tight as you feel you need to make it, and then do that zip up, and away you go. So pending output of said 100-watt solar panel, this is the easiest solar panel I've yet to interact with. Yeah, as far as setup and tear down, this should be a benchmark. It really should. It's just simple. It is just simple. So, like, literally open it up, because they've got that sort of rigidity to them. You know, pull a leg out, pull another leg out, and, you know, pull your cable out, obviously. So the legs are extended. Just close them together, and those legs pretty much close themselves, and you're good to go. Just one of those things that you just, you know, you're used to folding out your solar panels and multi-folds, and then you play with that, and it's just a completely different experience. Regardless of how easy it is to pack up, how nice it looks, how easy it is to set up, if it doesn't output decent power, then it's pointless. What I want to find out is how this thing handles sitting out in the sun. It is partially shaded, depending on the angle of the sun, etc. You can get that in full shade at the moment, because the sun's getting close to being immediately above us. It's getting a little bit of sun on the top there, so we'll see how that goes. Obviously the fridge sitting in full sun, so this is, I guess, a torture test for everybody involved. The plan was have the fridge doing its thing over here, mow the lawn, grab the batteries out of the lawnmower, plug them into the Jackery, and then show you how I can recharge the batteries for the lawnmower, flies, from the Jackery. And I'm over there, I'm mowing the lawn, I'm thinking, you know what, this thing's over here making excess power, right? So we said the fridge is taking around about the 20 odd watts. It's currently putting in around about the 80 watts, so we're at 60 watt excess. You know, the battery was at 97%, so it's going to be topped up real soon. Why do I not have something else plugged into it, making the most of this solar power? Now, despite having difficulties getting footage of that screen out here in the sun, I can tell you that it is easily readable. And I can see 109 watts even from here, sort of this sort of distance. I can see there's 100 and get the right angle, so the reflection is not there. 109 watts, 110 watts, 98%. And we're currently putting in 76 watts going in. So we're using about 25 watts. This setup as is, charging the Azeto battery, running our fridge, which is still on cool down. So its duty cycle is going to be 100% at this point. We've got about 20 hours worth, so we've got about a day. This Solar Saga panel, the 100 watt, has a gap that just nicely fits your solar generator. The little 1000 Pro sits in very nicely. So on the back, you've got your USB-C output and a USB-A output. The USB-A is 5 volts at 2.4 amps. So you're going to be seeing about 12 watts and around about 15 watts out of the USB-C, 5 volts at 3 amps. So you can literally just plug your phone, set your solar panel up, plug your phone straight into that. Be having this running your caravan or something like that, and you're sitting outside in the sun, just plug your phone straight into this and be getting a charge up. So that's a nice option. And how often I'm going to use that, I don't know, probably next to never, but it's there if I want to. That being said though, if you've got the funds and you're in the plug and play market, then these are going to be right up your rally. And look, if it's just a time frame, if you haven't got time to mess about and go on, you know, researching all different products and trying to figure out what's going to work with what, just get on the Jackery website, pick one of their packages and just go that, and it's going to turn up on your doorstep and you're going to plug it in and it's just going to work for you. So many parallels between this and, I guess, the Apple ecosystem. And one of those things is the plug and play. We've already talked about that. The second thing is the safety aspect of it. Now, the reason a lot of people just go for Apple because they like Apple. They're fanboys. They're not fanboys. They just like the product, whatever the case may be. The plug and play solutions that you get with Apple, you know, they put them up here. But for people like me who like to fiddle and play with things, and I don't like vanilla, I like to mess with my products. I like to get under the bonnet and I like to play with it. So that's why I've gone with an Android phone. I like that control. I don't want somebody else to have that control. I don't feel like I need that safety net in my product. I feel like I'm confident enough to risk a little bit to go with the Android type systems. And I always like to buy odd Android phones and see how those work. I get a kick out of that. But I appreciate people that have Apple, because I know people that have got their Apple phones and their Macs and their Apple TVs, and everything just works, and their AirPads and everything transfers from them. They don't have to do anything. And I appreciate that aspect of the Apples. Don't tell Eddie I said that. He's a fanboy. And you kind of get that here with your Jackery, in that they've been around for a long time, they're plug and play, and you've got the safety features that you want or that you need. If this is not your gig, they're all built in. So we've got, I think there's something like 8 safety features or something like that. Now, off the top of my head, I'm not going to be able to come up with 8, but I'll put them up on the screen there if I can find them. I believe it was 8. So you've got overcharge, over discharge. Obviously, we're going to have over voltage and under voltage as far as the solar or any of the other inputs go. And then we've got temperature protection in there as well, as far as it won't charge or discharge under a certain temperature to protect the battery, and it won't charge or discharge over a certain temp, again, to protect your battery. So it's a fair investment you've got in this unit here. Jackery have been pushing me reasonably hard to get this review done. Now, I think the reason they're doing that, the Jackery is hitting the Australia market. So the 1000 Pro is going to be available in Australia, and I'll put some links down in the description. See if I can get a discount code. I don't know whether that's going to happen. I think the reason the Jackery's been pushing me a little bit on this one to get this review done, obviously they're keen to launch in the Australian market and share their products with you. But I believe they also have sales that come up in October. So have a look down in the description. I'm not aware of what those are at the moment, but I'm going to communicate with Jackery before I put the video up, and just to find out whether there's something coming up, whether there's something I need to put down in the description for you guys. So if there's discount codes, if there's a sale coming up, if none of those things are possible, at the very least there's going to be a link where you can go and have a look at this product if you're interested in purchasing it, or you simply just want to find out more. That said, the basis of my channel is not to try and sell your stuff. I don't care whether you go and buy one of these or not. I simply want to share my experience with you, because when I see something that I'm interested in, that I'm interested in buying, I like to jump on YouTube and I like to go and watch people's reviews and see what it's like. I just like, I want to see the product from different angles. I want to see how they use it. And I just want to see the product in general in a video. And that's what I like to do on this channel. I just like to share my experience. You're big enough and ugly enough to go out and make your own decisions whether you want to go and buy one of these. And chances are, if you're over here looking at this video, you're probably already made up your mind to go out and buy one. You've got the money sitting there burning a hole in your pocket, and you're just looking at a couple of reviews. That's what I do. And if you're anything like me, you're doing the same. I'm impressed thus far that this has been running for a few hours now while I've been mowing lawns and messing about and talking to you. It's been in full sun, like that, for at least over an hour, hour and a half now, that I've switched over those other solar panels and been doing things around the yard. So it's been doing good. To be honest, I expected it to tap out by now because of heat, but it hasn't, and it's been running. Those fans are on and obviously doing a good cooling job. I think there's one on each side. I think you've got an input and output by the sound of it. You can barely hear them. I mean, where I'm here now, I can't hear them at all. I can't hear that fridge though either. Got to be getting close to 30 degrees outside now. That wind is coolish though. It's nice, a nice cooling breeze. It's doing really good just sitting there in the sun. I honestly expected it to pack out probably around about that 60-minute mark. That gives me more options as to what I can use this for. And some of those options that now becomes useful for me, in my mind, is power outages around this house. Those little guys, whilst handy for charging up USB things so you could charge your phone and stuff like that and keep you communicating, they're not going to run your inside fridge. If you want to know if the Jackery is going to run something, 1000 watts, have a look at the sticker on the back, see what the rating is. If it's over 1000 watts, it's a no. If it's under 1000 watts, it's a yes. For the purpose of the video, let's find out whether it's going to work. What we're really waiting for it to do is cycle, so it's going to open the fridge. Let's see what that does. It doesn't typically have a power rating on the back. It says it's 240 volt and it says 0.9 amp rated, so it's around about 240 watts, I'm guessing. That seems a little bit low, but maybe. It's giving me a warning telling me that I've left the fridge open, and I just heard it kick on. We're only seeing 100 odd watts for this, so I'm guessing, I'm assuming it's the one compressor, so I'm not sure whether that's fridge and freezer. I think that all works off the same in this model. So I think it's just the one compressor, so 100 odd watts. So I think the most I might see is, say, 250 odd watts, which would mean I'd get this in an emergency situation, fully charged Jackery for around about 4 hours. So I think for this, I'd be easily seeing 5 hours plus, probably 10 or more. Good to know. Once you start to get to this size, then you start getting into that, I guess, emergency use, your prepper type angle, if you will, where if you have a power outage, like I said, you can run your fridge, you can do various different things like that.
For any further calls to present there tonight, it might be delayed response as we have electric roller doors. We still have no power. It takes some time to get the doors up, getting the trays back on over. Icom Lucy Pump 217 Blue from 60 Edward Road, Batehaven. Investigated area, high voltage pole to pole line arcing, pole number 298. Road closed, one end by police, opposite end by fire and rescue. Can we attach energy if they're not already attached, please?
And I've got multiple fish tanks in there, and what I want to do is see whether this is going to be able to be plugged into the wall socket where I power all my fish tanks from. They're all on the one wall unit, and then whether this can run my fish tanks and then basically keep my fish alive over the course of a power outage. So what I'm going to do is just unplug this over here from the wall socket. You can hear everything's gone off. Plug this into our Jackery. All right. You can see, whoop, 1075. Alexa, lights on. Helps we've got the lights on. So I've just dropped down to 900 watts. So depending on what's running, I've got some temp controllers, some Inkbird temp controllers that control all of the heaters. So depending on what's cycling on, what's cycling off, I have seen it as low as 200, or I have seen it as high as around about 1200. So I'm just going to leave this plugged in. It's the middle of the day, it's 3 o'clock or something like that, 45% battery, and I'm just going to leave this plugged in. This tank's near my editing station, so near the computer just over there. So if this cuts out or does anything weird, then I'm going to know, because that light and everything's going to go off and I'll just see it because I'll be in the immediate area. So not risking the fish for the sake of the test. Good to know that it is physically working and running 988 watts at the moment. Again, I might only get an hour out of it, or a little over an hour, based on the fact that, you know, the heaters are going to cycle on, depends what the temperature on the day is, etc, etc, etc. But I think around about that 1200 watts is the most we're going to see, and that might be briefly. I bring it to a manageable level for the Jackery by switching some of the stuff off, like the lights, and I think that'll bring it within reach of that 1000 watts or thereabouts. So I'm calling that good as well. So that's where this size starts to become useful for many, many other things. And from a camping perspective, I think these are good. You've got your Siggy socket to power your fridge, and you've got your AC, so you can power multiple things. Your small little induction cooktops, anything sub 1000 watts that you want to take camping. You know, that might be a coffee maker or something along those lines. So one of the reasons I was excited to get, I tripped over my dog. So one of the reasons I was excited to get hold of the Jackery was because of the 1000 watt inverter in it. And because, as I've mentioned in a number of videos now, I'm looking to reduce the current load on my DIY system in the back. Purchased a few different items that are similar to the items that I would normally use. Induction cooker that we've got over here, 2000 watt one. I've got an 800 watt induction cooker, single hob. You can see how tiny that is. Well, in addition to that, I also went out and picked up this little 300 watt kettle. It does only about 450 mil, so it's enough for a coffee or a 2-minute noodles, which is typically what I would use it for. So these are only about 30 bucks. I think I'm about 25 bucks, 30 bucks for this. Through my testing, I did take this out and use this as a portable unit. I was cooking some chocolate so I could dip some strawberries in, You know, it's a little bit fancy. Just to show you proof of concept, so we'll turn the Jackery on here. We'll turn the AC on. I've just got some water in this. So she's on, and that's on full power. So hopefully you can hear that working. You can see with that running, we're currently pulling about 757 watts. Hopefully you can see that with the reflection. So that's our little induction hob, 800 watt Vengo. That's on the cook. Still testing, review of this to come. I've got to say that I'm not super happy with it. I want to test it out to see whether it's going to power up a little kettle as well. So it's going to be around about 1100 watts. We'll see what happens. Because we know it'll do 1000 watts, no problems. That's what it does it day in, day out. It will peak up to 2000. I don't know what the time frame on that for peak. Normally it's around about 30 seconds, something like that. Can be shorter. So I'm just going to plug this kettle in. Just turn off the Vengo just briefly, so I can actually have a look and see what the kettle is going to be pulling on its own. Pretty much bang on. So it's saying 304 watts that I can see there. Let's power up the Vengo, which should still be setting on, which should still be set on 5. See what she does over here. Okay, 1052 watts, 1047. It looks like between the two of them, it's going to be around about 1050. And that was what I was curious about, just to see whether I could run both of these at the same time. Yeah, 1050, whatever. Seems to be happy enough to be run a little bit over that 1000 watts. So I'm really happy with that. Not that typically I would need to run both of these things together, but it's nice to know what you can do. Now with the Jackery, there's no Bluetooth app with this one. I think some of their models have a Bluetooth app. This 1000 Pro doesn't. Now I don't have an issue with that. Whilst it's nice to be able to update firmware and things along those lines, I don't know how they would do that with this. With the other models that I've got that have the Bluetooth, it's nice and I love it when I first get it and I connect it all up and I go, oh, this is good, I can, you know, use this, etc. But then, other than maybe doing the occasional firmware update, but it's very rare that I will use the Bluetooth app or the app, regardless of how it connects, to connect to any of my solar generators. I just don't. I don't care. It's not a biggie for me. As far as layout goes, it's a solar generator. It's got all the same stuff that you're going to see on every other solar generator on the front, including one of those lights. Now, another thing I really like is that all of the inputs are on the back of the Jackery. Some of the other generators I've seen have all the inputs and outputs on the front, and I don't like that at all. I like the fact that you've got your AC input on the back, and then obviously either your car or your solar input or your DC inputs on the back here as well. Because I've already got enough cables plugged into the front. Normally I've got more than this. I've got all the USBs like absolutely full as well. So there's plenty coming out the front. And I don't want my input to be going in the front as well. I prefer separation from those. I know I've seen reviews from other people who want that on the front. So if they want to mount this into a caravan or an RV or something, it's possible that they want to mount it into a wall or a cabinet or something like that, and they need everything to be on the front. For me, having the separation, your outputs all on the front, your inputs all on the back, that's the way I want it. So things I really like about the Jackery, the plug and play aspect, depending on who you are, absolutely brilliant or not so great. It's got to be a positive. It realistically overall has to be a positive. But for some who, like myself, want to connect non-Jackery type products to the Jackery, it's also a little bit of a con. Providing I can source the right adapters, etc., I'm not going to have an issue with that. But the fact that I now have to go and source adapters is a little bit of a bugbear to me. It's a US-based company, certainly from a safety features perspective, and certainly from a company history. So, you know, the comfort that comes with buying something from somebody that's been in the market for 20 odd years. If you are looking for just a plug and play solution off the shelf, hand over your money, walk away with something that just works, Jackery's your guy. The size is awesome for this unit. Now that's not specifically a Jackery thing, just this unit itself. I like this size. It starts to become a useful size. I would like one that's twice the size though. That's when I think the products really start to become useful. This, for me, is just on that verge of being useful. So it's definitely a useful sort of size. The ones under it, you know, your 500s and stuff, for me, for my use case scenarios, whilst handy, they start to become really useful at this size, and the bigger they go, the more use they are. your 1000 watts, it's going to run a lot of things, but it means that there are still limitations that you need to be aware of to keep it under that 1000 watts, and then how long you're going to get that to work. Double up in size, and I'm not talking just the 1500, I'm talking, say, 2000s and stuff like that. That's where, for me, the value really sits, because you can pretty much use it for anything. There's not much that you're going to not be able to run at 2000 watts as far as an output goes. This one will do 2000 watt surge, but only 1000 watt constant. That comes down to your needs and how you want to use a product like this or any solar generator. This comes down to your use case scenario. I would like to see better DC access to the battery than just a 10 watt cigarette lighter socket. My usage for ham radio and stuff like that, I would like to be able to access that DC side at a higher amperage. Whilst the Ciggy socket is a very useful connection to it, it has to be one of the connections that is most prone to fail. You know, popping back out, just wriggling its way out, certainly in a car environment. I understand why they've gone with it, and I understand what every other solar generator has exactly that same plug. Ciggy sockets on the front, because when you go and buy your portable fridge or your car fridge or something like that, they give you a lead with a Ciggy socket on it. Heaps of different things you're going to use this Ciggy socket, and which makes it useful and makes it a necessary evil. Keeps people from getting in trouble, and that's one of the things you've got to applaud them for. And whilst I appreciate it, again, it's just something different that I would like to see. I'd like to see a temp gauge on the screen, just so I can see how the thing's traveling. You know, if I've got it sitting in the sun like when I was doing that testing, I'd like to see the temperature inside and just see how it's traveling. If it's about to cut out, I'd like to know, do I need to put a little bit of heat on it? Do I need to put it in the shade? It would just be a handy thing to be able to see. Those fans are really, really quiet. Even plugged into the AC for charging, really, really quiet. Now, as far as negatives, again, this is subjective and how you want to use it. Just the one Ciggy socket, I'd probably like to see 2. The proprietary plugs, but beyond that, it does exactly what it says on the tin. And as I've mentioned in reviews of other products, when I get a product, all I want it to do is work, and in this instance it does. One thing I do need to mention though, was a bit of a surprise, and Jackery was looking into this for me and we're going to get back to me, but I have seen it on another review. If you get your Jackery and it's not turning on, whatever, just plug it into the AC and let it charge up. They do seem to ship at 0% battery charge. So Jackery, if you're watching this, or Cecilia, who I was dealing with and sent me out the product that I sent the inquiry to, it does appear that they do ship with 0%, and they just need to be plugged in. Once it's plugged in for a little while and the battery starts to come up, you'll then start having a working unit. I like the color design as well. I like the orange. I don't know, it's just a thing, but I like fluoro green as well. The pouch that's included and the orange cables that let me know that this is my Jackery stuff and not some stuff for the other brands that I've all just got thrown in a box. And then when I go to get them, I've got to go, oh, right, which one works with what? What's the output on that one, etc., etc. No issues with your orange cables here. Oh, I like the 2 inputs on the back for solar. I like the fact that it can take 800 watts of solar. I like the fact that it charges with nearly 800 watts from AC, and you can have it charged in under 2 hours. For such a sizable unit, that is an awesome thing. That's something else I just want to mark as a positive. These dust covers on the fronts of these. Awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Never had any Jackery before. Thus far, I am very impressed. More testing and more review to come in a later video. And then anything, literally anything else I can think of. If there's anything you want to see me do with this unit, you know, and I'm more than happy to try and test it. So that's it. That's the Jackery Solar Generator 1000 Pro, now available in Australia with Australian sockets on it and available locally. So thanks, Jackery, for thinking of us guys down here, down under. And it's nice to see US-based products getting involved in the Australian market. It's good to see. So thanks very much for stopping by. I'll catch you on the next one.